The semifinals for the TNT Championship Tournament have been set. Let's get into it. This is All Elite Review. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to today's edition of All Elite Review. We'll be reviewing the 27th episode of AEW Dynamite from April the 22nd, 2020. I apologize for this review coming a little bit later than usual, but I just haven't been in the mood to do a video. But we're going to go ahead and get into it so we can get this done and over with, because we're watching another episode of AEW Dynamite tonight, which at the time I'm recording this is coming on in about 55 minutes. So let's get this done and over with. So getting right into Dynamite. I started out with the video package of Cody basically chronicling the TNT Championship and his potential opponents. And then we got right into the first match, which was a TNT Championship quarterfinal match between Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, who obviously still have a lot of beef with each other. Guevara attacked Allin before the bell, hitting with a Sky Twister press, and then hit a flying splash onto a ladder that he set up on the outside of the ring. So basically it was somewhat similar to what happened at Revolution. But Guevara would throw Allin into the ring and start doing like double arm curve stomps. Allin would take Guevara's boot off after he traps him on the kind of a trio kind of thing, and basically starts working on Guevara's ankle and foot. Guevara hits a one-legged springboard cutter, almost didn't get there but managed to hit it. At this point, Allin's nose has been busted open. He puts in a heel hook on Guevara. Both start trading shots. Guevara looked like he had a busted open lip. So these two guys were just going blow for blow with each other, and they were giving each other some pretty stiff shots, you know, trying to make this, you know, seem as heated as it should be, you know, with these two having, you know, a long-standing rivalry with each other. Allin misses a tope suicida, goes face first right into the guardrail. It looked like it hurt. Guevara hits a 630 splash, although he kind of came out of his somersault a little bit early as he was coming down, so it probably wasn't as effective as it should have been in kayfabe. But he only gets a 2 count, but Allin, because Allin grabs the bottom rope. Allin hits his shoulder ride stunner, then goes for kind of a pseudo coffin drop off the middle rope. But Guevara actually catches him in the Argentine rack and goes for the inverted GTS. But Allin actually grabs Guevara's leg as he was bringing the knee up, and counters with the Last Supper 3-4 pin combo and gets the 3 count and the victory. I gave this match 3.75 out of 5 stars. It was a pretty good opener to this show. Probably would have been a lot better with a crowd. with a crowd that would have gotten into the 4 range out of 5. But this is still a pretty good match overall. And at this point I was perfect 3 for 3 as far as my predictions in the TNT title tournament. Then we see Matt Hardy cutting a promo on Jericho and challenges Sammy Guevara to an Elite Deletion match since Jericho hadn't bothered to answer his challenge. And then he switches back to classic Matt Hardy and basically talks about, you know, his history with the Elite and with Chris Jericho. It was pretty interesting little way that they did that. Next up, we have a singles match between Alan Angels and Kenny Omega. I gotta say one thing, Alan Angels, he's actually a pretty impressive wrestler. And Omega made him look really good here. They started out with a good mat wrestling. Angels with a low drop kick into a step-up senton splash, which looked really good. Omega blocks a second senton splash, though. Omega hits his pendulum backbreaker. Angels with some nice combination strikes, which look really good. Omega hits a nice lariat. Angels with a step-through drop kick where he steps through, you know, the ropes. It springs off of him and hits a drop kick. Only got a 2 count though. Angels with a back roundhouse kick, which looked good. Starts hitting some martial arts strikes. But Omega hits a snapdragon suplex. Gets a feet trigger for a 2 count, then hits his stalling gut wrench powerbomb, transitions it into a V trigger or a koyagame, and gets the 3 count and the victory. So Alan Angels looked really good in this match. I mean, honestly, I would like to see a little bit more of Alan Angels in the near future because he looked really good in this match. I give this match 3.25 stars out of 5. Then we get a video package with Scorpio Sky, basically talking about, you know, how he's had his struggles in professional wrestling, trying to get noticed by, you know, a big time corporation or big time wrestling league. And I think it's kind of a mini series that they're going to be doing because they had this was just part 1, and after it was over, it said to be continued. So we're going to probably get more of that probably tonight, I would say. As far as Scorpio Sky is concerned. And then we also learned that if Dustin basically tells Cody on voicemail that if he doesn't beat Kip Sabian tonight in the main event in the last TNT Championship quarterfinal match, then he will retire from pro wrestling. And you knew right then and there that Dustin was not going to lose this match. But of course I predicted that too. Next up, we have a singles match between Jimmy Havoc and Orange Cassidy. This one was actually pretty solid, all things considered. Havoc attacks Orange from behind. Havoc with a suplex off the guardrail and onto the floor. He had to put Orange Cassidy onto the guardrail, basically straddling the guardrail. Havoc hits his rolling Death Valley driver and then hits like a spinning forearm. Only got a 2 count. He hits an acid rainmaker, kind of a weak looking acid rainmaker. Turns it into a cross arm breaker. Orange Cassidy with his no hands drop kick. A tope suicida crossbody and a satellite DDT for a 2 count. You know, and that's kind of been the underrated thing about Orange Cassidy is that, you know, he has that sloth like, you know, persona. But once he gets going, I mean, he can go. And he's shown that. And then Orange hits this kind of sloth splash for the 2 count. Havoc hits a rolling elbow, but Orange counters with a Superman punch. And then Orange gets like an octopus style pin and gets the 3 count and the victory. So Orange Cassidy gets his first victory in AEW. But then after the match, Havoc attacks Orange and hits him with his Cradle DDT. And him and Sabian, who tried to interfere in the match, by the way, they try to beat down Orange, and then the best friends chase them off, which leads to a no disqualification tag match that's going to be happening on Dynamite this week between the best friends and Havoc and Sabian, which is basically, I think, since it's no disqualifications and no count outs, it sounds to me like it's going to be a Texas Tornado style match, which I love those style tag matches. But this was still a pretty good match overall. I gave it 2.75 stars out of 5. And then MJF cuts a promo explaining his injury. I think it's like high nail, or I can't remember what it was. But it had something to do with like an elongated nail or some shit. And he was in a sling and shit. And it's just like, oh, you motherfucker. MJF, he is a tremendous troll. And if there was a crowd, you know, he would be booed out of the fucking building. But it would be like the kind of heat that you want. You know what I mean? But that was pretty funny. So, Hangnail, I think that's what it was called. I don't know if I said that before, but I think that's what it was called. Then we get a couple of squash matches. First of which was Lee Johnson against Wardlow. Highlights of this match: Wardlow hit a rising knee strike. Johnson hit a drop kick that didn't really phase Wardlow. Wardlow hits a gorilla press power slam, his launching suplexes. Johnson tried to come in with like some striking combinations, but Wardlow hits like a dropping knee strike where he had him like on the middle rope, and he drops him down into a knee strike. That looked really vicious. And then Wardlow hits his F10 and gets the 3 count and the victory. You know, squash match, but Wardlow looked really good. So instead of the usual 1.5 stars, I gave this one 2 stars out of 5, which is pretty good for a squash match. And then we have a Dark Order segment with Brody Lee interviewing someone, which turned out to be Preston Vance. He decided to join the Dark Order, and apparently he's now going to be known as 10. So, you know, there's that. Basically, you know, if Brody Lee asking, you know, if he was like 6, how tall he was, if he played football, you know, and all that stuff. And he basically said, yeah, we welcome you into the Dark Order. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But that's basically what it was. And then we see Brody Lee in another squash match, and he's going to be in another match tonight against Marco Stunt, which, you know, might as well be a squash match as well. Although Marco Stunt is actually a more well-known commodity, you know, than some of these other guys that Brody Lee has been, you know, absolutely destroying. This was all Brody Lee in this match, but my God, the offense that Brody Lee had in this match. Started out with some hard strikes, a nice super kick, a headlock suplex, and then a half Nelson suplex. I mean, this guy's in-ring capabilities is just crazy. You know, not to mention, you know, the fact that he is one hell of a good talker. Again, it just makes me wonder what, you know, Vince McMahon was thinking. You know, he hits a nice black hole slam, and then it hits a vicious discus lariat. I mean, you could hear the smack on that discus lariat. It's just like, holy shit. And he got the 3 count and the victory. I gave this 1.75 stars out of 5. And of course, afterwards, you know, the Best Friends challenged Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian to a no disqualification, no count out match. Basically, you know, no holds barred, basically. And it'll be tonight on Dynamite as I'm recording this. And then we had episode 2 of the Bubbly Bunch where they're doing some kind of, you know, dance off or some shit like that, which is pretty funny. And then we get our main event, the final quarterfinal match in the TNT Championship Tournament with Superbad Kip Sabian taking on the Natural Dustin Rhodes. And the winner of this match would move on to face the Murder Hawk Lance Archer. And of course, on the other side of the bracket, you had the American Nightmare Cody, and he would face the winner of the Darby Allin Sammy Guevara match. Of course, it turned out to be Allin, you know, which was to be expected. So we have Cody and Darby Allin on the other side of the bracket facing each other in this first semifinal, you know, and then this will determine the other semifinal matchup against Lance Archer. So highlights of this match. Dustin hits his kneeling uppercut and arm drag. Sabian with a nice combination, which he turns into like a rolling snapmare into the penalty kick. Only gets a 2 count. Dustin misses a running knee strike into the corner, so he starts selling the knee, and Sabian locks in like a knee lock and he starts focusing on the bad knee because, of course. Sabian with a nice drop kick, but Dustin then counters into a crucifix pin for a 2 count. Dustin goes for a body slam, but his knee buckles and Sabian lands on him, only gets a 2 count. Dustin with a jackknife pin, only gets a 2 count. Sabian hits a rising knee into a discus punch, gets a 2 count. Sabian locks in a reverse chin lock, hits a spinal tap, but then Dustin hits a nice double A spine buster. He hits a Manhattan drop into a bulldog, which I'm not going to lie, the bulldog just looks kind of eh. It doesn't really look that good. Dustin hits a snap power slam, which always looks good, gets a 2 count. Sabian with a nice springboard tornado DDT for a 2 count. Penelope Ford, of course, tried to get involved, but Brandy Rhodes was also at ringside. And it's a nice bionic spear on Ford. I mean, if there's one thing I will give Brandy Rhodes credit, is she can hit a pretty good spear. I'll tell you that much. And it looked really good here. And this distracted Sabian, and Dustin hits a running Canadian Destroyer. It actually gets the 3 count this time for the pin. Not very often nowadays that we see the Canadian Destroyer get a pinfall victory. It's basically been transformed into a bit of a transition move. But in this case, Dustin gets the 3 count with it. So that was a bit of a change up. But pretty solid match overall, pretty solid main event. And of course, Dustin Rhodes' career continues, and he'll face the Murder Hawk Lance Archer in one semifinal, and you have his brother Cody against Darby Allin in the other TNT Championship semifinal match. You know, and when you look at the brackets that I put up and submitted to AEW, because they have a contest going on, I am a perfect 4 for 4 so far. I have correctly predicted I correctly predicted all 4 of the quarterfinal matches. So there's that. So I have to wait to see it tonight and see if I go 5 for 5 and 6 for 6. But we'll see. I gave the main event 3 stars out of 5. So I mean, despite the fact that there were no fans as per the usual, because this was another studio show, I mean, overall, this was still a pretty solid show. You know, really good. You know, of course you had a couple squash matches, but you also had some really good wrestling, and of course a couple matches in the TNT Championship Tournament. You know what I mean? So, my final rating for the show tonight, I gave it a 6.25 out of 10. So, that's pretty much going to do it for this review. Of course, I'm getting ready to watch Dynamite here in a little bit. But here are my personalized rankings after this week. Thank you, or the previous week, I should say. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. Bye. You better like and subscribe or face the consequences. You have been warned.